very good evening to you, and thank you very much for tuning into Brand Plus TV. It's always a delight knowing that you have taken your time and have made the conscious decision to keep us company. I am Ondiro Ganga, ready to bring you up to speed with all the top stories making headlines today. And as you know, we're all about business. Let's take a look at some of those stories.
The same uneducated women who were cutting sugar cane could now manipulate machines and eventually program the software that run those machines.
Award at 10 celebrations. Hello, Madam Scientist. Launch of Amity Global Institute, bringing global standards to Kenya.
Cabinet Secretary to give the Tibet accreditation.
The hosting of this year's Jua Kali Nguvu Kasi exhibition in Kenya, and specifically in the town of Eldoret.
State preparedness of the Jua Kali Nguvu Kasi Expo. Together we stand, divided we fall. Thank you for staying with us. Now on to our top story. African Women in Agricultural Research and Development Award today held a forum not just to celebrate its 10 years of existence, but also to celebrate a decade of advancing inclusive agricultural research. The event held at the Trademark Hotel, Nairobi, had Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former president of Mauritius, as the chief guest. Take a look.
Instead of thriving, they're actually surviving.
Founded in 2008, today, African Women in Agricultural Research and Development Award celebrated its 10th anniversary. While delivering the keynote address, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Fakim, former president of Mauritius, noted that it's only through the inclusion of women that the global economy's full potential can be unleashed.
We need a complete mindset shift for this 21st century for the full and equitable economic participation of women in order to fully unleash all of the earning power of our national economies and eventually the global economy. It is not sufficient to make progress against ingrained gender inequality. We must eradicate it altogether. We must say collectively, let us dare to be the generation to make the definitive difference.
What do the numbers show?
The marginalization of women permeates all spheres of human existence, and President Fakim pointed out that in the labor market, for instance, there are 1,001 hurdles slowing women down.
Over 50% of the world's population, yet the contribution of women is less than half of the many measured economic activities. Still today, nearly 1 billion women are excluded from full participation in the economy. Africa suffers particularly from this reality. The gender gap is almost 50%, in large contributor to lesser economic productivity in Africa than in fully developed countries. When women do progress beyond the lowest tiers of the labor market, they tend to remain in middle management positions, earning low pay and often in low status jobs. Not surprisingly, the informal sector has a high representation of women, and moreover, in this sector, employees tend to be unskilled, realize unstable earnings, and are left unprotected. And of course, women dominate in unpaid jobs, caring for children and the elderly, where they are not just uncompensated, but also unrecognized, unappreciated, and unprotected.
Address gender and diversity.
To fix this disconnect, education needs to be provided at a level playing field for both genders. To this, President Fakim highlighted that the ripple effect of educating women can be felt across the board.
Educating women creates an amazing ripple effect, as an educated woman is likely to spend her resources on her family and on the education and health of her children. I'm not going to compare how much men do, but I think they can decide. If the moral imperative to educate girls is not sufficient, the economic returns should be. And I think the IMF recently reported that a study of 60 developing countries revealed that the economic loss from not educating girls at the same level as boys amounted to something like $90 billion per year. Thus, educating a girl must not be perceived as a threat, but rather as both a blessing and as a practice that makes good economic sense.
In the absence of an enabling environment,
Further to this, she added that the government needs to technocratize itself, just like the United States did and are now reaping from the benefits.
This is also where a technically driven government, and I insist on the word technically driven government, with science-savvy technocrats can make a big difference in driving the science agenda if we are to leave no one behind. This is where the science-trained child will be able to make a contribution to the development agenda of her community and her country. This is where I see convergence between the political and the science world, the drive towards generating tangible results on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 20th century, the United States of America showed the way by its trailblazing education policy that institutionalized the integration of races in education settings, favored science in the thick of the Cold War, and ensured equal education opportunities between the genders through the passage of Title IX. While these milestones may seem modest today, at that time, they were controversial and courageous. Today, the US is still reaping the benefits of these decisions, which have helped drive the country's economic leadership, with gender equality at a crucial component of their strategy. Small investments can result in large gains for girls. One extra year of primary school can boost earning potential by 10 to 20%. At the secondary level, an extra year can result in an impressive 25% boost in earning potential.
we don't need more diagnosis.
However, even with the capability of women in science being unquestionable and undeniable, the numbers are still dismal. Retired Professor of Agricultural Economics Stella Williams, OAU University, noted that this disconnect begins at home, where households forget to empower and reaffirm girls in sciences as they grow.
It's the home front, because charity begins at home. If the parents don't encourage the children, not just the girl child, but even the boy child, encourage the children, first of all, to know that each of them have talent, and they have to develop that talent. As Catherine said, you have science, you have art, but we are always skewed in our choices instead of integrating both of them to have a whole. So at the home level, there has to be that focus on the whole, your challenge, your opportunities, and the benefits. And that's where development in Africa is failing, because that home front does not have that focus of the wholeness, because you have both sexes. So why should you encourage the boy to play football and you encourage the girl to become a slave? That's because you have not realized what you've got. The girl and the boy, they make a whole, and therefore you have to develop both of them to become one.
In our institutions. Yeah?
To further solidify the place of women in leadership in science fields, retired Professor Stella Williams was emphatic that the government needs to find ways of funding research projects that are brought forth by women in the science field.
Africa has become a beggar nation. It's not that we are poor, but we make ourselves impoverished by saying, I don't have. This is why you find our government does not actually fund research. We are rich, and we need to change that attitude of being poor. We need to be able to fund research at the country level, at the state level, at the local government level. Look at all these politicians. They become politicians because they're using the government fund to take care of themselves. Why don't you use that government fund to take care of the community? to take care of the government, to take care of the national need. And that's where we find the funding. And that's why you find both Jacob and Nelson were referring to that. The same thing with Catherine. IDRC is a Canadian group. They're using taxpayers' money to give Africa money. And yet Africa squanders its own money because they are sure Canada will come to their aid, USA will come to their aid, Europe will come to their aid. Why would Africa, as rich as it is, not fund its research?
She turned around to me and said, Patricia, we're trending.
It is estimated that only 24% of women are in the field of science and only 7% are in leadership roles. Award, while marking its 10th anniversary, is pleading to one day at a time change that narrative by growing the numbers of women in the field by all means possible.
It is about these human stories that make these incredible journeys.
Amity Global Institute, a technical and vocational education and training institute established under the auspices of Amity Education Group, a leading non-profit education group which has international schools, colleges and universities around the world, has been launched today, officiated by Education Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohammed. Our reporter Daisy Wambua brings us more on the story.
Speaking during the launch, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, Ambassador Amina Mohammed stated that the curriculum of the institution was in line with the education policy of the country.
What you're doing here is in line with our education policy of increasing access and promoting equity and relevance in education, and especially to the middle and higher education levels.
She went on to say that the launch couldn't come at a better time because the education system was undergoing huge changes that would help improve education in the country.
I want to tell you that you couldn't have come at a better time. This is really the best time for you to be here. We are revitalizing and reforming our education sector. We have on our own done quite a bit. We are building capacity in all the 3 levels of education. And we are embracing partnerships. Right, welcoming investors, embracing partnerships, particularly in research. And so we'll be looking to you to ensure that we're able to do that.
Asim Chauchan, Chancellor Amity University, highlighted how the courses they are going to offer are relevant to the country's development agenda.
We have a large number of programs that have a lot of relevance for Kenya and the 4 pillars that have been mentioned earlier. For example, this program around post-harvest technology and cold chain management answers the question of how can we help the most remote farmers increase the yield as they bring the products to market. Food processing and food technology programs we have. How can farmers double their income by doing more value addition, more at the source instead of just bringing the basic product into the market. We have programs in sustainability and oceanography. We had a big conference in the Blue Economy recently. These are programs that we have. We have a Wildlife Research Institute. Maybe there is some information sharing we can do on research on wildlife, which is also so important here. We have real estate and construction programs that may be very good for affordable housing. It is also a priority in some of the other markets in which we operate.
He went on to say that the institution had a research and innovation program that they would use to support the growth of startups.
We do have these niche programs that I think could be beneficial, not only teaching learning, but also research and innovation. So we have an incubator where we incubate more than 300 technology ventures, helping young people develop companies. You come to me with an idea, our people will help you develop a business out of it and make big money out of it. So why not convert intellectual property and knowledge into money and big thriving businesses? Can we dream that from Kenya?
Applause.
For Brown Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
For 2 hours, let's thank her. Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary.
Well, on that educational note, let us head for a short commercial break. But do stay with us as we still have so much more lined up for you on the other side, including SMEs. See you shortly. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Business News. Now let's shift our focus and take a look at matters small and medium enterprises. The country is expected to host the Jua Kali Nguvu Kazi exhibition in Uasin Gishu County, where the East African countries shall be given a platform to exhibit their products, not for the purpose of display, but for the purpose of trading. The Ministry of Trade, Industries and Cooperatives, that is mandated to accelerate innovation and entrepreneurship, has today highlighted the stage of preparedness of the 19th exhibition, which kicks off next week. Our reporter Desu Ambua was at the briefing and has the full story.
The 19th edition of the Jua Kali Nguvu Kazi Expo is expected to kick off next week in Uasin Gishu County, where small and medium enterprises from the East Africa region will convene to showcase their products, with the end goal being continued promotion of regional integration. Speaking during the briefing, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Trade, Industries and Cooperatives, Honorable Peter Munya, gave focus to the SMEs by highlighting that the expo will make their products accessible to the regional market.
This annual exhibition is extremely important because it's intended to help the SMEs to have their products help them have their product access the East African market, sell their brands, make the consumers familiar with their brands, assist them also to improve on the quality of what they produce, and be able also to be assistant to access markets across the borders.
He noted that counterfeit goods have become a menace in the local market. He was, however, quick to point out that the ministry has come up with strategies that will deal with such issues.
I'm sure you know we've been strengthening our institutions that are involved in dealing with counterfeits so that you can be successful in this war. And you know that we have now a Bureau of Standards, Kenyan Bureau of Standards, that's stronger, that is stricter, that has better standards, and that is strictly enforcing standards to make sure that fakes, counterfeits, substandard goods do not access our market. And I would say we have been quite successful in that war.
While commenting on the issues that have been affecting trade relations between the East Africa countries, the CS went on to point out that there is need for every country to abide by the rules to avoid slowing down the rate of integration in the region.
And we demand that the partners that are involved in this project called the East African Community play by the rules. We want everybody to play by the rules, because when you start playing by some of the rules and breaking others, you not only slow the momentum of integration, you also dampen the spirit of integration.
The exhibition will give each country a day to explain their trade policies, strategies that have made trade successful, and on the 7th day, which will be Kenya's turn, the Deputy President, His Excellency William Ruto, will preside the destruction of counterfeit products.
For the products that will be.
The host governor, Jackson Mandago, Uasin Gishu County boss, urged all traders, whether exhibiting or not, to attend the event.
As the governor of Uasin Gishu, let me take this opportunity to welcome exhibitors from Kenya and all the 47 counties in the 19th Jua Kali Nguvu Kazi exhibition, which is an East African exhibition. And also take this opportunity to welcome all the exhibitors from the East African region to Uasin Gishu County and Eldred.
Further emphasizing the importance of SMEs, he noted that they contribute 18.4% to the country's GDP.
To encourage trade between multinationals and big established companies, disregarding the small enterprises that actually contribute a very large percent of our GDP.
He also noted that the expo was one of the catalysts to regional integration, among others.
So that these small enterprises can actually help us accelerate even the regional integration. Regional integration at government-to-government level is good because it provides a framework. But further integration happens when we have people-to-people integration.
The county boss also urged entrepreneurs and other relevant players to avoid the last-minute rush by encouraging them to settle in on time as the items were for sale and not display.
And we also want to encourage Kenyans always to be early. We are used to coming in the last minute in a rush. We might lose the opportunity. And that is how imbalance of trade happens. You are not there at the right time.
The governor was quick to point out the need to advocate for acquisition of technical skills in the country, all in an effort to stop importing of goods that can be manufactured locally.
That is why, as a country, we are embracing technical education, and we are encouraging that our focus actually shift into skills development so that we are able to manufacture as a nation. The difference between us and China, that's why we keep complaining, is China emphasizes technical skills, whereas a majority of us were busy in class being taught about parts of a grasshopper, parts of a frog, and that is why we really need to encourage technical skills, not at a very high level, but at the artisan level, the guys who do the actual manufacturing, the actual production, the actual design. Those are the things that we need as a nation so that we stop the business of importing even what we are able to manufacture.
The country is working towards a middle-income economy by the year 2030, and SMEs form an integral part in the attainment of this vision. With efforts such as Jua Kali Nguvu Kazi Expo, this may become a reality sooner rather than later. For Bram Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
The Global MICE Summit kicked off today in Nairobi. The two-day event gathers together global investors, practitioners, academicians, and regulators from the MICE industry to discuss opportunities, trends, and going concerns within the sector. Our reporter Karari John attended day one of the event and tells us more.
They did a good job of showcasing.
The event, organized by Zuri Event, under the theme Leveraging Sustainable MICE Practices for Economic Development.
We can always complain.
The MICE Summit, which was held at Hotel Intercontinental, is focusing on three major pillars of sustainability, economic growth, and technology.
And its partners.
The keynote speaker, Africa Regional Climate Change Coordinator, UN Environment, Dr. Richard Munang, who anchored his address on climate action as an accelerator for socio-economic transformation, market opportunities for the meeting industry to tap into. Started off by highlighting the effect of climate change to businesses.
As we gathered here today, the changing climate is no longer an abstract issue. It's affecting not just the business community, but it's affecting the entire world, and more so Africa. As responsible custodians of the African continent and also citizens of the world, we cannot allow this to happen without us charting different ways in which we can be able to address this challenge, but at the same time also leveraging on opportunities that the business community and more so the MICE can be able to benefit from. Across the continent, from the savannas of Southern Africa, to the highlands of East Africa and to the forests of the Central African region, to the coastlines of West Africa and to the golden sands of North Africa, the causes of the changing climate are indiscriminate, shattering lives and livelihoods across borders and also sectors. The floods experienced in Africa last year were unprecedented, killing 25 times more than the much publicized Hurricane Harvey in the United States. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, these floods in the African continent are leaving a trail of lost lives. They're leaving a trail of shattered livelihoods that are impacting the productivity of every sector of the economy.
I wanted to showcase Nairobi.
He went ahead to describe the losses that Kenya and in extension Africa experiences in MICE industry as a result of climate change.
And with this, sea level rise putting up to 11 million people in 6 coastal cities, resulting in flooding and damaging infrastructure, including touristic sites that we have invested in for a very long time. I'm talking of ecosystems, whereas we're currently speaking today, costing Africa over 60 billion annually. and driving loss of World Heritage Sites a critical attraction to MICE visitors. Currently, as we're speaking today, of the 39 sites on global danger list of degradation, 44% of them are on the African continent. For instance, retreating glaciers resulting from rising temperatures threaten sites such as the Kilimanjaro National Park, which boasts Africa's highest peak and a significant attraction for the MICE visitors. Right here in Kenya, where we gathered here today, Kenya's 6 heritage sites risk being permanently changed or degraded due to climate change, with most of the affected sites serving as major touristic attraction, which is a major asset for the MICE industry.
Best event.
Dr. Richard Munang, who was the first person to win the prestigious African Continental Hero Award 2016, went ahead to call to action those in attendance to safeguard the MICE industry from the fury of climate change.
It is therefore time to heed to the wisdom in an insightful African proverb that says we should put out fire while it is still small. We should put out fire while it is still small. My call to you today, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, in the MICE industry, is to portray Africa's fight against climate change. It is a call to act. It is a call to act before it is too late. It is a call to act in safeguarding the core assets, base of your industry. It is a call to act to safeguard your markets. It is a call for you to invest lucratively and guarantee enduring dividends well into the future. It is a call for you to be able to safeguard your interests, the interests of an industry that is close to your hearts and minds.
Judy Kefa-Gona, Director Sustainable Travel and Tourism Agenda Kenya, went ahead to break down the impact of the Global MICE Summit to Kenya.
It is time to change mindsets. The development agenda is changing. The paradigm has shifted. Everything is about sustainability. Now, Global MICE Summit is about bringing to the attention of all players. We have heard in this summit that MICE is the only sector that brings all industries together. When technology people want to meet, they organize a meeting. Yep. When agricultural people want to meet, they organize. So MICE brings all sectors together. And so what a better place and forum to foster the sustainability agenda. So even as we meet here, we are looking at MICE as a frontier for many things. We are looking at MICE as a frontier for innovation in tourism, for diversification in tourism. We are looking at MICE as a frontier for innovation and creativity in the different sectors, because MICE is a consumer of different products.
At KICC and its association conference,
with Kenya having successfully hosted the world's first Sustainable Blue Economy Conference, Judy went ahead to point out how timely the theme of the summit, leveraging sustainable MICE practices for economic development, was.
It is very, very timely. If you look at the growth of the sector, if you look at its economic impacts, the figures speak volumes, but often you do not see, when we are reporting tourism statistics, you do not see where MICE is covered. We rarely get to see the metrics about it. Yet it is growing, and it is growing extensively fast. We have just had a major blue economy conference in Kenya, 17,000 plus delegates in 3 days. When we eventually report the tourism statistics for 2018, you will not be able to filter out what was the contribution of MICE. And we are talking about net contribution of MICE, whether that contribution is socially, whether it's environmentally, whether it is economically.
Meetings, incentives, conferencing, exhibition, MICE are all avenues through which diverse stakeholders from different sectors come together under one roof, promising great returns for the host nations. As players in the sector meet to deliberate on sustainable future, Kenya is well on her way to cement her place as a business tourism country of choice. Reporting for Brand Plus TV, I am Karawi John Wambugu.
Happening as well. So that's not an issue.
Let us now take a look at how the markets performed today. Here is a summary. just a summary of how the markets performed, but for more in-depth analysis on the same, tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for my next big bet with Rachel Deritu and Karanje Daniel. Let's now take a look at the day's weather report. That is it from the Business News Desk tonight. On behalf of everyone that made it a success, thank you very much for watching. You can tune in again tomorrow at 9 p.m. for fresh serving of news-making headlines in the business world. Have a good night.